You know Diddy, right? The music mogul, fashion icon. Yeah, well, lately his name's tied to something much darker. This wave of accusations, over 100, all painting this really dark side to his whole empire.
And it's, the scope of it all that's really striking. We're not just talking like recent events here. Some of these allegations go all the way back to the 90s, run the gamut from sexual assault to even racketeering. It's like everywhere in the headlines. You've probably seen it, Lawyer Monthly, The Daily Beast, even a court sketch in Reuters.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. So we're diving deep into the court documents, news reports, just trying to make sense of it all.
And one thing that kind of jumps out right away is this recurring thing about these white parties Diddy was known for.
Yeah.
There were these lavish events, but now multiple lawsuits are saying they were like the backdrop for some of these alleged assaults.
Yeah, parties that were once legendary, now they're at the center of these truly disturbing allegations. One accuser claims he was just 16 when Diddy assaulted him at a Hamptons party. This was back in '98.
And sadly, this isn't an isolated claim. The lawsuits are painting this picture, this pattern of Diddy allegedly using these parties to prey on people. In 2006, a security guard who was actually working one of these white parties thinks he was drugged before being assaulted by Diddy.
It's like this darkness followed him, right, beyond the parties, even into his professional life. There's a lawsuit from an Echo clothing advisor who says Diddy assaulted him, get this, in the stockroom of Macy's flagship store. This was back in '08.
Yeah, and if it's true, it kind of speaks to a pattern, like a pattern of audacity, disregard, that's really troubling. And it connects to this broader theme we're seeing. Allegations of Diddy using his business dealings as a way to isolate and exploit people.
And we're not just talking about accusations that are confined to these lawsuits either. September, Diddy gets hit with federal charges. Racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, the list goes on and on. Right now, he's being held without bail at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
And the racketeering charge is really significant.
Yeah.
Because it suggests this wasn't just like a few isolated things, right? It's suggesting a pattern of criminal activity, potentially even using his whole enterprise for illegal purposes.
$50 million. That's what his legal team offered. $50 million to get him out on house arrest at his Florida mansion. $50 million. But the judge wasn't having it.
Right. The judge basically said he's a flight risk and expressed concern about potential witness tampering, which is huge, right? Because it suggests the prosecution might actually have evidence of Diddy trying to silence his accusers.
And, this is all just scratching the surface. Over 100 people have come forward, and a lot of them are being represented by Tony Busby.
Oh, wow. And Busby's involvement definitely adds another layer to this whole thing. He's known for these aggressive tactics, being media savvy. So it's not just a legal battle, it's playing out in the court of public opinion, too.
Absolutely. And, we have to remember that at the heart of all of this are the individual stories, the accusations themselves, right? One woman claims Diddy invited her and a friend from this dab band photo shoot back to a Manhattan hotel room. This was in 2004. She says that he locked them in, pressured them to use cocaine, and then actually threatened to kill them if they didn't do what he wanted.
And that's, that alleged incident reminds me of this chilling claim from a different lawsuit. This accuser says that she was raped by Diddy in a bathroom at a 1995 promotional party. The party was for the Notorious B.I.G. music video, One More Chance.
Yeah.
And she claims that after the assault, he threatened her and he said, "You better not tell anyone about this or you will disappear."
Which, that brings up this disturbing question, right? If these accusations are true, did it go beyond just Diddy himself? Because one of the lawsuits actually names the Marriott hotel chain as a co-defendant, alleging that one of their security guards was involved in the assault.
See, and that's where it gets really interesting, right? Because is this just a case of one predator acting alone? Or is there a whole system at play here, a culture that enabled this behavior? Is the music industry ready for that kind of scrutiny, though?
It's like, where there's smoke, there's fire. And with each new allegation, the smoke just seems to keep getting thicker and thicker.
Yeah, and Busby's even said, this is far from over, right? He's claiming over 3,000 individuals have reached out about potential claims against Diddy.
3,000?
3,000.
Wow. It's hard to even imagine a number like that.
Yeah, it really highlights the shift that seems to be happening. This wave of accusations against powerful people, and not just in entertainment, right? Across industries. People are finding their voice, they're demanding accountability. The question is, will this actually lead to lasting change, or is it just going to fade away like all the other scandals?
Yeah. And what about the people who are coming forward now? Some of them, this is after decades of silence. What does it mean for them to speak out now?
That's something, we really have to acknowledge. The courage it takes to come forward at all. There's the fear that you won't be believed, right?
Yeah.
The potential backlash, what it can do to your own life. It's never easy, especially with these power dynamics.
Right, but Diddy's legal team, they're not backing down at all. They're calling this whole thing a money grab, saying, again, innocent until proven guilty. And they've even gone so far as to criticize, the media coverage of this, saying it's all been sensationalized.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because the public deserves to know, especially when it involves a public figure like Diddy. But at the same time, everybody, including Diddy, is entitled to a fair trial. We can't convict somebody in the court of public opinion before they've had their day in court.
So what happens now? The criminal trial isn't until May of 2025. That's a long time for this to drag on.
It is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, during that time, it's likely we're going to see even more lawsuits, more evidence will come to light. It'll be back and forth. But what's interesting is the prosecution, right? They're not just going after him through the individual acts. They're claiming he used his money and his power to silence victims, to obstruct justice.
Which is why the judge denied bail, right? Citing concerns about witness tampering.
Exactly. So this isn't just about the sexual assault allegations, but also about the potential abuse of the legal system itself.
And then there's that bombshell allegation, right, from the indictment that Diddy and his, I don't know what you'd even call them, associates, may have recorded some of these assaults.
Yeah, if that's true, it's incredibly disturbing.
Yeah.
That someone would be intentionally documenting these acts, maybe as a way to control or blackmail.
Right. It makes you wonder, what else is out there? What else might come up as the investigation goes on?
It's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, we already have this mountain of accusations, but what if it's just the tip of the iceberg? I mean, this thing could have massive repercussions, and not just for Diddy, for the entire music industry.
Exactly. It's sparking this bigger conversation, right?
Yeah.
About power and about accountability, the systems that allow this kind of behavior to go on. We saw it in Hollywood, we saw it in politics, and now we're seeing it in music.
And it feels different this time, don't you think?
Yeah.
Less tolerance for excuses, more of a willingness to believe the people coming forward.
Absolutely. And this case, as awful as it is, it could be a turning point. It could force the music industry to really look at itself,
One of the things that's so impactful about this case is the sheer number of people. I mean, it's really hard to dismiss that many voices, especially when they're all telling such similar stories.
Yeah.
It's a pattern that's going on for decades across different parts of his life.
Right. It's like a reminder that we can't just take somebody's word for it, especially when they're powerful. You have to listen to everybody, consider all sides, be willing to have the uncomfortable conversations. So where does this leave Diddy, right? I mean, he's built his whole brand on this image of success and empowerment. Can he really come back from this?
And honestly, it's really hard to imagine his legacy being completely untouched by all of this. Even if he is found innocent in court, legally innocent, the sheer number of accusations, how serious these charges are, it leaves a mark. We've seen it before. These public figures, especially the ones who build their careers on a very specific image, they can face a reckoning and it can be swift.
Especially now with social media, right? It's like this whole other world, this echo chamber. It can make or break you in a second.
Exactly. Social media has become so powerful, not just for news and stuff, but for controlling the narrative, And in cases like this, it can be a huge amplifier for the people coming forward, give them a platform to share their stories that they didn't have before. It's pushing a cultural shift.
Yeah, no doubt. You're right. The way we talk about these things is different. How we hold people accountable too, and not just the individuals, but whole industries.
It's not enough anymore to just be like, well, that's the way it is. I mean, people want better. They want a world where power doesn't equal a free pass. And as tough as it is to face, this whole Diddy case could really be a turning point, not just for music, but for society.
It's heavy stuff. A lot to process, but that's why we do these deep dives, right? To try and unpack these things, get into the nitty-gritty, and really try to understand.
Absolutely. It's about getting people to think critically, to form opinions based on, being informed, and realizing this isn't just some isolated thing with Diddy. It's bigger, right? What are the systems that allow this to happen in the first place? How do we stop these power dynamics from silencing victims? It all comes down to believing those who are brave enough to come forward.
It really does. So for everyone listening, what are you taking away from all of this? What questions are still swirling around in your head? This one's got us thinking, for sure.